All right. I think it's working better now. Hopefully. If not, I'll have to figure that out. Uh, I got a few different live videos I'd like to work on. Um, Maybe do a monthly live or something. I've kind of been toying around with that idea, but trying to do a monthly live is kind of hard, especially on a certain date and time, due to me being a truck driver. Driving, as you guys know, can be very random at times. Like right now, I'm not working because uh, the other day we actually had a really bad storm that came through, blew a sign over into the road, truck hit it, took out the headlight. So I'm sitting around waiting for a new headlight to get in. Um, so yeah, the my truck's gotten some damage lately from the headlight and then the deer strike that was a little while ago. They still haven't gotten that fixed, so the step on the driver's side is still really screwed up. Um, so yeah, hopefully the truck will get done today. It is 7:37 right now, but who knows? Hello, Andy. Um, Sorry, I got some notes right here on my computer that you guys can't see. I want to make sure I cover some some topics today. I'm doing pretty good, Kevin. How about yourself? Mm. It's a hot tea kind of day. It's freaking cold outside. It's like 20 in the mid 20s. I was outside in the garage. I was going to try to do a video out there. Um, as you guys saw the last video, I made a workbench. Um, so that workbench it's actually pretty cool. Um, cool deal. It's always good to be on home time, right? I wish I was on home time. I'm not. Although I do have a home time coming up next weekend, and I might have some video footage I might do then. Um, but that might have to be uploaded on Facebook. I'm not sure. YouTube has some interesting policies that I've been having to spend a little bit of time reading on. But anyway, so a interesting thing has occurred in the last um, in the last few days. Something occurred, but it occurred the second time. The first time, I don't know. It kind of hit me, but it didn't. So what am I talking about? I had received a job offer outside of Swift. I'm not going to say company names, but this has now happened 2 times. But I was in contact with a gentleman. If he posts below and says who he is, that's up to him. But I don't want to say, company names or this or that or anything like that. But I had a uh, a driver, or not a driver, a district terminal leader. I can't remember his full title name, but it was up there quite a bit in another larger company who wanted me to go work for them. Um, and I guess I could actually pull up the email really quick. But long story short, with that, did talk to them. They were really quite cool. Very interesting. Um, but he did say some things in his email that I think would be worth noting here. So that's kind of like what this little segment's going to be. Uh, he says, I understand that preventing accidents is less to do with who's at fault, and that's a really short. It's a regional operation manager. That's his title, by the way. It's in the email. Preventing accidents and less to do with who's at fault. I've actually brushed on that subject a few times, but I kind of want to capitalize a little bit on that one sentence because um, I think it's a really good sentence. But easiest way for me to kind of explain that if you get into an accident, it's not so much whose fault it is. This is kind of like what him and me were talking about at the time. Even if you're not the one that's at fault for that accident, you got to do the paperwork. You got to wait for the police. You have the safety department you got to talk to. You have investigation department to talk to or something in some cases. And then you got to wait for your truck or trailer or both to get, fixed either on the spot, towed to a shop, whatever. So even though the accident's not your fault, okay? For me, I'd rather prevent an accident, even if it's not my fault, because the amount of paperwork that's going to go behind it. Frankly, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to be filling out paperwork if I don't have to. So, when I'm teaching, I work for Swift. So, when I'm teaching my students here at Swift, how, to prevent an accident, okay? It's not so much because, they're being a bad driver or other people. Four-wheelers are generally bad drivers. I have a great video that I'm working on that's going to be for my dash cam. This occurred a couple days ago. I need to do the voiceover with it to get that video produced. But I think you guys are going to find it quite interesting. Cool deal. Welcome to Swift. I hope your orientation can be very interesting. I remember the time I went through orientation. So, preventing an accident is not necessarily whose fault it is. Sometimes it's just better to slow down and allow that idiot to go in front of you. And frankly, I prefer to have all the idiots in front of me because then I can kind of keep an eye on them better. That's one. Two, let's say, and this is something else I kind of talk to my students in depth. The very first day they get on my truck, and I kind of talked about this in an earlier video as well, they get really kind of annoyed with me. Because when I was working in New York, up in New York State, the very first day they were on my truck, I would take them to New York City. I'll take them through the worst traffic I could. And, some students will get all kind of frustrated and not exactly happy with the traffic and people cutting them off and all this fun stuff. And I'm sitting there just kind of chilled, sitting back, relaxing. And eventually sit there and say, hey, look, you're paid by the hour. I'm by the mile. So frankly, you being a student shouldn't worry about how much traffic you're in. You're paid by the mile. By the hour. And you need all the drive time. So who cares if you sit in traffic for 3 hours? You're going to have 3 hours of drive time. So relax, chill out. It's not a problem. There's no reason to get into a rush. Later in their training, I kind of break it down another way. So later in training, they're all like, well, that's when they're really starting trying to look at, well, how many miles did I drive today? And, I need to try to keep my speed up. And all that's great. That's fantastic. You definitely do need to be paying attention to, trying to keep your speed up. Of course, you're paid by the mile, not by the hour once you upgrade, or you're with another trucking company. Unless they pay hourly, then drive slow. No, not really. So you need to do that, okay? But at the same time, you can't sacrifice safety. What do I mean by sacrifice safety? So let's say a car comes in front of you and they're just being an idiot. Then what you can do is either not let them get in, or you can slow down and allow them to merge in. Now, they're going to slow you down, okay? Let's say they slowed you down 5 miles per hour and you lost a whole mile waiting for that car to come in. A whole mile. That's 41 cents. If you're on a reefer division with Swift, I think they start everybody off at 41. If you're on OTR, you're losing 38 cents per mile. 38 cents. So let's say you lost 5 miles per hour for the next hour. That only comes out to less than $2, $1.90. Okay? Come on, dude. $1.90. You can't even buy a fucking McDonald's sandwich. You don't need to be riding that car's ass. Back it off a little bit. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. The paperwork aspect of it is going to take more than $2. You got to sit there and wait for a damn cop, and then, all the phone calls and repair time. You could be talking about days, or at least, 4 hours. Okay. I was in a minor fender bender up in New York City, and I actually had a student on the truck. And this was as bad as a fender bender can go. It went great in my favor. And again, I could look up the guy's name. I'm not going to. It doesn't matter. But I was in New York City, and this guy just flew up on the right side of the truck, wasn't paying attention, and just drove underneath my trailer. I mean, it's just like, did you not see me? I had a truck and trailer, Walmart, the whole 9 yards, and he just drives right up underneath it. Scuffs up this brand new car on the trailer tires, and causes a couple $1,000s worth of damage to his vehicle. On my truck, I got rub marks. I mean, I was able to go back there and just like, and that was it. And that was probably not the best thing. Anyway, getting past that part. So when all that occurred, okay, even though this guy hit me, it was like 2 hours, for the police officer calling Swift and everything else. And this guy told the police officer right off the bat, it's my fault. And he called Swift and he said, hey, it's my fault. It's my fault, not the driver's fault. It still took 2 hours of my time. Now, was there anything I could have done in that situation? No, not really. I was parked. I was sitting at a red light, and this guy just hits me. But he sat there and he was like, hey, look, guys, it's my fault, not the driver's fault. So that was really helpful because I could have been put on safety hold with Swift until they did their investigation. Who knows how long that takes? I've never worked in that department. So I'll be taking a complete guess there. So, preventing an accident is not so much of whose fault it is, but it saves your time, honestly. So if you lose 5 miles in an hour because you had to reduce your speed 5 miles that 1 hour, you're losing $2. Really, $2. And the same thing could be said for bad weather. If the weather is not good outside, slow it down. You're only losing a couple dollars an hour. 2 hours later, you drive through the storm, right? That's $4. And then you're back up to 65 miles an hour. You get into a jackknife situation or a situation where you lose control, you're going to lose a lot more time than just $4 worth of time. You're going to lose a whole hour, which could be, depending on, what I got to calculate right here. So at 38 cents times by 65 miles an hour, that's $24 an hour that you're losing. And so if you lose 1 hour, that's $24. That's worse than $4. You're better off slowing down. And especially with this winter condition, guys. I got the map sitting right here. There's a lot of snow and ice. And this winter is really shaping up to be a pretty good one. And the traffic conditions as well. Even though I run dedicated, I keep track of the weather and traffic conditions across the whole U.S. Part of that's because I have students, and so they might call me and ask me questions. I have friends who are truck driving, so I get road reports. I ask for them, and I'm interested in them. So, I do keep track of the weather and traffic conditions across the U.S. And up on the East Coast and West Coast with the snow, it's been pretty bad this year so far, and I think it's only going to get worse. Um, so yeah, there's that. Uh, so talked about the video on the dash cam. Talked about my truck's in the shop again. There's also another repair thing that needs to get done on these. If you have a KW, these newer KWs, 2019 and newer, or I will say on the 2019, I don't know about the 20, I don't know about the 18 or the 7. I know on the 19, on the T680, you really have to be paying attention to the power steering cap. On my truck, that power steering cap has been broken 2 times. It's broken right now. There's a little bolt thing on the very top, and the cap will actually break loose from that. I will show you guys that. It was caught during one of my pre-trips, and I've been getting with the shop trying to get that part in. But it appears to be a problem with KW. So if you have one, you definitely need to be checking your power steering cap in your if you don't do it every day, you need to at least check on it every few days for sure. That cap loves to break. I found that I'm getting about 80, well, actually, I'll say 70 to 100,000 miles before that cap's broke. For instance, I'm at the 200,000 mile mark and I've replaced it 2 times. Say every, 100,000, it is for a fact broken. And I'm not tightening it hard on it or anything like that. So yeah, need to be, if you have a KW T680, you need to be checking that power steering cap. It likes to crack. Yes, all Swift trucks or all the newer trucks are going to be automatic. Some of the Swift trucks, older ones, are not automatic, but I think they've gotten rid of all of those. So unless you're a owner operator, you're going to be driving an automatic. You're trying to get your CLP. I'm not sure what that is offhand. Oh, hey, Jeff, do you need a mentor? If you need a mentor, let me know. I am currently looking for a student. So, let me know. Yeah, I have heard that some of the day cabs are manual. But the ones here in Temple, Texas at the Walmart DC, they're all automatics. And I think Lancaster is all automatics. I know out in Phoenix, I think they're all automatics. So yeah, I think there's a few local terminals that have a few of the day cabs. But a lot of the terminals are now upgrading to the newer trucks. But I think for a manual, you really need to be looking for like a 2015, 2016 truck. But here's my opinion on the manual versus standard thing. Okay. You're paid the exact same per mile, the exact same to drive standard or automatic. And me personally, I like the automatic. Be able to sit back in traffic and be able to drink or whatever without having to constantly shift is a beautiful thing. So yeah, I really like my automatic. Now, as some of you guys may know from when I was working on my pickup truck is a 6-speed standard. So I do know how to shift and I do know how to grab gears. As I don't baby that truck. I used it for work while I had my company way back when. If you go and look at my really old videos, you would see that. Sorry, I had an itch in my ear. You will see that in my older videos. It was used for work. So I know how to drive standard, and I also drove a twin stick Peterbilt once. Boy, that was interesting. Let's actually talk about my driving because that's a question I get a lot. That's pretty good, Jeff. Cool deal. Well, let me know. Um, so yeah, I have people who ask me about my driving history a lot, especially in my videos where I'm doing training and whatnot. Some people are like, hey, that driver's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. To, hey, that driver really knows how to back up, and everything in between. I think it's kind of funny, but anyway. So let's talk about it. So when did I actually officially get my uh, Class C or regular automotive license? I was 18 or 19 years old, but I grew up in the country. I was driving since I was like 15. um, I mean, times were different. And, I'm 30 years old, so that's like 15 some odd years ago now. So I was driving since I was like 15, 14 some odd years old. And I would take my mom's car and I would pick up a bunch of kids in it. And, I would drive to youth group or church. I would go, uh, I would ride my bike or whatever, and I would go work for a farmer, hauling, hay or whatever, and I would make a little bit of money. And then as I got older, uh, I started to help with the youth group, moving stuff around and helping, the youth group leader doing things. And, the I was basically told, hey, here's a vehicle standard. You need to go from point A to point B and don't hit anything, don't, frick anything up. Oh, and by the way, it needs to be done before sundown. So I had to learn how to learn. Bleh, I had to learn how to back up a trailer with like no help. So that's where my training is way different because I teach people the way that I learned, which is thinking about the very front of the trailer, not the back. Um, Although you kind of look at the front and the back. And my students understand that extremely well, and they love the way that I teach it. They think it's very different and unique and very easy to understand because they start to see the minute differences that they couldn't see while they were in school. So my way of training is definitely unique due to the fact that that's the way I learned. Then, as I got older, I started a company. Well, before that, I was actually in heavy construction. Was working with my dad and whatnot. And so on the job site, I would have to drive the big old 1 ton truck or, some of the heavy construction equipment moving trailers. So I learned how to drive, some standard semi trucks that were, meant for on the job site when not to move stuff around. Um, and, backing up wagons and everything else. And I got decent at it, but it was all flatbed. And then when I started up my own company a couple years after that, I bought flatbeds. I was running flatbeds with my 1 ton. And the first truck I had was a 1996 Ford F-350 that converted over to run on waste vegetable oil. That was an awesome truck. You might be able to see some videos of that old truck. It was red. It's a nice truck. Sold it. Anyway, bought my white Dodge that I still have today. And that's a 6 speed, and I drove that, fucking forever now. And so I went to repo. I backed up trucks to, grab cars going, 20 miles an hour backwards. Repo trucks go a lot faster in reverse than what you think they can. Uh, their transmissions are slightly modified. They have a reverse gear that's very, very quick. A lot of fun. I got some good repo stories. Maybe I'll share with you guys sometime. If you guys want, let me know down in the live chat or the description or comment section, depending on when you're watching this video. But I got some funny repo stories. And then after that, I had a really bad repo week where things really went to shit. So then um, I decided to go and get my CDL. So I went down to the CDL office in South Dallas, out on 20 and 35E, and I took the written test, and I rented a truck for $600. I paid $600 for the truck. It was like 2 weeks later, I took my driving test, and I passed. It was a day cab with a 28-foot pup trailer. That's all you need to pass your driving test. Passed that, and I had my CDL. Now, going from that story, let's actually talk about why I went to Swift. So I actually called up a lot of other trucking companies. Swift was the last company I called because I was going on with what I heard everywhere else. Everybody wanted to bitch and complain about Swift. You know, Swift this and Swift that. Well, I stuck it out with Swift, and it was good. Every other company wanted me to go through their trucking school and pay all this money and sign huge contracts. I was like, I already have my license. Swift didn't care about that. Swift was like, oh, you have your license? Great. Go with the mentor for 200 hours. So that's what I did. And that's, how I got my CDL. So my CDL is only about 2 years and a couple months old. My Class C license is since I was like 18, 19 years old. But I've been driving since I was like 14, 15 years old. So call me a country bumpkin. That's kind of where my experience is. I know some people were very interested in knowing some of that. The other thing right now, I'm actually just using my cell phone for this live video right here. But as you guys saw from some of my videos recently, I've been working on trying to improve my audio. So if my audio is coming in kind of real poor or really loud or somewhere in between, please let me know down in the comment section, okay? Because I'm not really good with dealing with audio yet. It's something I'm learning, and I'm trying to work on my audio stream. So let me know how it comes through. Do you guys have any questions that you guys would like to ask me? I kind of went through everything that was on my bullet point. There's actually one other thing that was on my bullet point that I actually didn't talk about yet. So there's going to be a new series coming out soon that I think you guys might be interested in. In truck driving, you can make a lot of money depending on how you want to work. I've been kind of lazy this year for various reasons. So this year I didn't make as much as I was hoping to, but I'm okay with that. But I'm doing something different. Sure. You could ask some of those mentoring questions here, Kevin. You're more than welcome to. But I'm going to be doing a new series that is going to help you guys invest the money that you guys make in trucking to make more money. And I'm going to do it live. I don't know if it's actually going to be a live video, but the videos will be uploaded very, very shortly at the time that it's done. What am I talking about? Trading. I'm going to start doing trading again. Don't want to go into a whole lot of detail right this second. But I will give my professional and personal opinions on it. Of course, I'm going to have to say you have to take on the financial risks yourself. If you actually type in my name, stephan.harz, in Google, you could actually find a blog post. I used to have a blog. I don't keep up with it anymore. But on that blog post, I would actually predict the price of gold and silver very, very precisely. I was very good at it. And I had people that would, read my blog post and some of the things I would say about gold or silver, and they would make their investments based on what I thought. And guess what? I was dead on sometimes. I mean, there's sometimes where I was within, a few pennies. And you can go back, look at my blog post, and then read what I said, and then look up what gold price was around that time by looking at the historical data. So I'm not saying that I'm a super expert, but when I owned my company, I had probably about $40,000 to $50,000 that I used in just investments like that. But I didn't just trade it online. I used it in the form of both stocks as well as commodities. As you'll find out, I prefer commodity type trading because a commodity is going to be used versus stocks where you're hoping that a company will go up in value. A lot more information on that later. But yeah, I'm going to start playing around with stocks again, just because it could be a good source of income and add to my bottom line monthly. You should always be looking at trying to increase your net worth. And putting the money in the bank is a good way to go broke. I'll have some videos talking about that, but my girlfriend had a hard time trying to understand that concept, so to speak. And me and her have talked a lot about it, and so she's like different views, different points, and she found it very, very, very interesting. I think you guys will as well. All right, let's see what Kevin had said here. Being a new mentor, where do you find the patience? Oh my God. Repeat. People who make the same mistake over and over and over again. Kevin, here's the best advice I could give you. The passenger side window is very strong. If you must bang your head against that window, it will hold. Oh man. I've had some students where sometimes you just have to repeat yourself over and over and over again. To the point that I've actually thought about making a voice recording and just hit replay. But I can give you two examples of two different things you can do that I've dealt with a student that had that issue. I had one student who didn't want to check trailer tires. He just backed up to it, hooked up to it, and went down the road. One time, I caught two bad tires on a trailer. And he was sitting there trying to tell me that he looked at them. And that he was like, oh, I thought they were bad. I wasn't sure. I'm like, okay, which ones am I talking about? He had no clue. I never looked at them. Okay. So I had him go out at the terminal and told him, and it was lightly raining. I mean, not pouring down rain, guys. It was lightly raining. And it was kind of cold. I was like, look, dude, your job now is you're going to go front to back on every single trailer, and you're going to be checking trailer tires and the inspection on every trailer until I feel like you're good. All right, long story short, he wanted to complain about it, this, that, and everything else. Called driver development. Driver development basically said, do it. Or you could wait around for another mentor, which could be weeks. The guy was not happy, but he did it. He eventually was happy that I did that. The second thing you can do is if a student is having a really hard time doing a certain backing maneuver, kind of like student number 7. It's the most popular video on my YouTube channel. It's kind of annoying. I wish people would watch other videos on my channel as well, and not just one. But on that video, you know, the student, we were at, that Walmart way early, and that student tried to back into that dock multiple times, even before I started the video. Okay. So repeat the exact same maneuver over and over and over again if you have to. If they are doing something that's on a safety related though, like I had one student who couldn't make a left turn without hitting stuff. He hit 3 things on 3 different times by turning left and going straight, and I'm backing up, going straight into the left and hit 3 things. Okay. After the 3rd time, I was like, look, dude, I don't know if you don't understand what I'm trying to teach you or what. At that point, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you have to take a student back to the terminal and be like, he needs to go with somebody else because they might be able to teach him where he's not learning from me. So if it's a safety thing, take the student back. If it's not a safety thing, trying to learn how to teach that student is only going to make you a better mentor. Some students are easy as pie, and some of them can be as hard as, hard. Welcome to being a mentor. The ones that really annoy me though are the ones that get on my truck and they're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I was the best one at the trucking school. The driving instructor said, we're the best class. Most people got their license. Or so many different things, okay? I love the ones that are like, I'm the best. And it's like, no, you're not. Okay, so the phone and the 50-hour thing. Okay, if they have a hands-free device, that's going to be up to you if you think that that student can handle that. If the student can be on the phone, but stop and listen to you when you're talking, like every student knows, if I allow them to be on the phone with a hands-free device, if I say, hey, you need to hang up, we need to talk, or we need to do some training, or you need to tell them to wait a second, we have to talk. They can't sit there and say, okay, in a minute, I'm on the phone. No, it's, hey, hey guys, I'm sorry, I gotta go, blah, blah, blah. They hang up, they move the mic away from their face, or pop the earmuff off, preferably take the earmuff off, and their full attention is on me. And then we do whatever we need to do. And if they want to call that person back afterwards, that's up to them. Generally, though, going into the 3rd or 4th week, generally I don't have a problem with a student, being on the phone talking to somebody, because they're going to be doing that when they're solo anyway. So there's a few ways to look at it, but that's going to be based on you and every single student. Different scenarios, different times, totally can change it, okay? The biggest thing is that the student is getting distracted by the phone call. Nope, kill it right there, okay? Be like, no, you don't go on that phone. And if they don't listen to you, take that student back to the terminal, okay? Because that's a safety thing. If they're being distracted by that phone call and they can't handle being on the phone and drive safely, then no, okay? If they don't want to listen to you, I'm sorry. I don't have time for that. I'm not trying to be rude, but I just don't have time for that. All right, let me see what David said here. Yeah, inspections can be pretty fun sometimes. And yeah, calling a company and trying to tell them, you got shut down because of tires, they're going to be like, oh, okay. Did you pick up a piece of metal? No. Well, what's wrong with your tires? They're bald. Um, if you have zero tread depth, okay, and it wasn't from like a cupping, what I call a tire warning, a warning sign, um, the company knows that doesn't happen in 300 miles or 400 miles or 600 miles. You're not going to go 600 miles and go from good tread depth to no tread depth. Um, so the company's going to know that you didn't do your pre-trip, okay? Or you didn't do something that you were supposed to do. It's not hard to look at your tires, okay? Anytime that I'm getting out of my truck, even if it's getting out of the truck 3 times that day just for Walmart, I'm looking at my tires before the trip, and then every time I get out of the truck, I'm looking at my tires again. I might not look at all 18, but I'm going to look at whatever tires I can while I'm doing what I need to do. Your tire condition can change the quickest. I've had tires that were good, literally uh, 20 feet before I checked them again because, I could, get to the truck, check them, drive around to the front to go pick up my paperwork, and then I'll come out and I'll take a look at my tires again. And I picked up a piece of metal. I've had that happen. And that tire is no longer good because there's a freaking piece of metal in it. It's not hard. Just look at your truck every time you're walking up to it or walking away from it. Um, so pre-trip is very important, especially on tires, because they can change so quick. One, two. Anytime that you're walking in or around the vehicle, it's kind of like where's Waldo? You kind of want to find that thing that's not good and get it fixed before DOT finds it or before it becomes a problem. You lose a tire. Let me get a drink. You lose a tire. Um, that tire, especially if it's on the inner side, it could get wrapped around your axle and it could cause a fire really, really quick. If that rubber gets wrapped up, and then, yeah, it can cause a fire very, very quickly. Um, Even the outside one, if it gets caught up in between your duals and whatnot, it can cause a fire. Brakes, it can rip out airlines. Um, God, it can cause a lot of damage. It's not worth it. The other thing, I completely changed my pre-trip. Um, and recently, I should actually talk about that. I haven't. I'll actually have a whole video talking about this because I think it's that important. Some of you guys might remember a couple months ago, I think it was now, when I lost my front steer tire, the driver's side. Um, so Swift has really awesome people in Phoenix and other major terminals, including the Albuquerque terminal, um, Lancaster, New York. There's quite a few big people in terminals that watch my YouTube channel. Anyway, a guy, director, was watching my YouTube channel, saw that I had a tire blowout, and so I took enough video of that tire that he was able to take it to certain tire people in the company, the really big guys. And they were like, this is what we think that happened. They were able to diagnose the possibilities of the problems. And he went to 2 of them. They both had the same conclusion. So 1 + 1 = 2, meaning in this case, you had 2 guys with this, they didn't talk to each other, but came to the same conclusion. That's probably the correct answer. And what they thought was the tire lost air pressure. And that's why it blew up. It deflated below 10%. I always just did the hand, you hit it and you kind of feel the bounce back and whatnot. Um, And that's the way I would check my tire pressure, or used to. And he told me, hey, that's not really that good. You can't detect a 10% tire pressure difference. And I was like, So I haven't done it yet, but I would love to set up a series of tires that I could actually test to see if I could tell by my hand or not. But that's just getting with the terminal and having that test set up. So what I do now, okay, I might not check all 18 tires, okay, but my two front steers, I absolutely check air pressure. The Swift doesn't have a mandatory air pressure check, so they don't absolutely require you to check the air pressure. DOT recommends that you do, but there's no DOT requirement to on your pre-trip. But I say it's highly advisable that you check your tire pressure. If you're not going to check your tire pressure, check your front steer tire. Losing a steer tire is not fun. It was definitely the initial of what the hell is going on was scary, but what was really worrisome was the people around me. I was really worried about getting into an accident that day with somebody. Thankfully, that didn't happen. So I always check the front air pressure on my tires. A lot. Okay, so post-trip, pre-trip. Here's the thing with that. You are required by DOT to do a pre-trip and a post-trip. DOT does not say what you have to do in those pre-trips or post-trips. There's no requirement. You're just required to do one. And there's no time limit. So per the DOT book, it doesn't matter if you do it for 5 minutes or if you do it for 20 hours. The only requirement is you have to do it while you're on duty or on the clock. Okay, that's the only requirement. So you can do a pre-trip for as long as you want, or a post-trip for as long as you want. You're not required to do it for this amount of time or this amount of time. You're not required to check 5 things or 20 things. What you check and what you don't check is completely up to you. So your student from a previous trainer from a different company, that's just the way that trainer did it. Now, when I'm doing my post-trip, I don't check my fluid levels, okay? So Kevin, I don't check that myself. The biggest things I'm looking for during my post-trip is lights, tires, and leaks. So it's basically kind of like a quick walk around. If I see something I don't like or I feel like checking something, for instance, let's say if it's during the day or something, I might stop and take a look at, something. Hold on a second, sorry. I will stop and I'll look at something, or I might lift the hood. But generally, when I'm doing a pre-trip, post-trip, it's just checking for major issues. Okay, and congratulations on getting your Class A. So on my pre-trip, I check more. On my post-trip, it's just a basic check. That way, if I have a tire issue, a fluid leak, or a light issue, I can get that fixed while I'm in a sleeper berth and not even have to wake up for it. Because, tire, you just call somebody out, they come out, they put a tire on, and then they're gone and while you're asleep. But is my post-trip, extensive, or am I popping the hood or all that? No, I don't, okay? Some of my fluids I check every other day. Some of them I might check once a week. Depending on your truck, and what fluids your truck goes through, you're going to check things more often versus other things. It just really kind of depends on how your truck is running. And if you're running the same truck all the time, you know your truck. And Kevin, that's not a bad thing. Spending the time to do pre-trip and post-trip is really good. If you find problems on your post-trip, hey, you could get those fixed during your 10-hour break and everything's, hunky-dory. Great. That's not a bad way of doing it. Every driver is going to have their own way of doing it and their own way of catching things. Part of the reason why I'm not so worried about doing a post-trip is because I'm always pre-tripping my vehicle. So because I do Walmart, I'm getting in and out of the truck 3 to 4 times every day. And so I could be out of Walmart and I might just feel like taking a second or standing up or whatever. The weather's nice, or I don't know. I just get a bone in my body. I decide to pull the hood and take a look underneath, check the oil, check this, check that, whatever, mid-trip. Okay. So, and then sometimes I might feel like doing that on my post-trip. The biggest thing for me is checking the tire pressure on my steers. And that's because I had a really, really valuable learning experience from that. So you have to, on your pre-trip, post-trip, what you check, what you don't check, how much time you put in it, that's going to be based on you and what you feel comfortable with. But there's no DOT requirement, okay? You're just required to do one. That's it. You're not required to spend X amount of time. But never sacrifice safety for time. Safety is very important. That's why I check my tire pressure on my front steers quite a bit, because I had that one blowout. But like I said, and I'm being honest, I even told Swift this, I don't check every single tire. And on the day that I had the front steer tire blowout, I did not check the air pressure. I haven't checked that air pressure. I didn't even have a tire air pressure gauge on my truck. So for almost 2 years, I never checked the air pressure on my truck. The only time that the air pressure was checked is when I had tire service. I wasn't concerned about it. And I was able to go to 2 years before I had a front steer tire blowout. Is that the smart thing to do? No. Because that's a front steer tire. And now, after talking to that guy, doing the thump test with your hand is not effective to detect a 10% air pressure loss. Or that's what I was told. So I went out and I bought an air pressure test. And I do check the air pressure on my front steer. Manual, I'm glad that my videos have been very helpful for you. Like I said earlier, congrats on getting your CDLA. Getting your CDL, it's definitely a process. For me, it took me, for the written test, I think it took me like a week to do it, because I failed once or twice and I kind of was only doing a few tests at a time, and I was still working. So, I would get off from work or before work, get over there, take a test or two, and then just repeat that for like a week. And then after that, I had a schedule for the drive time, to go out for the driving, and $600 and getting all that arranged. Pretty straightforward process. So yeah, I got that done, and that's how I got my license. But yeah, it was a process. It took me probably all in all about 3 weeks, about the same amount of time as it would with Swift or their Swift school, but you're also there a lot longer. I did it kind of like on the side while I was still working, but I knew how to drive to a higher degree than most people who just drive four-wheelers. And like I had explained earlier, I have a little bit more experience while driving commercial-sized vehicles and pulling and backing up trucks and trailers. So that experience really led me a lot further than somebody who just drove a car and being in the country. Um, if a student gets sick, it happens. I mean, hell, this is life happens, right? So if it takes them longer than 34 hours, it is what it is. Um, just depending on how long it's going to take them, I guess that's going to be up to you. I've had a few students get sick, and generally I'm sick around the same time because when you're sitting in that small of a square footage inside of a semi truck, you're generally both going to get sick. So it really never was a problem. Now, if you have a student that you think is lying about being sick just to have extra home time, I guess that would be up to you. I have a thing, if I tell a student to be somewhere at a certain time and they don't call me and they don't show up, if I was OTR, I got to go. I would leave them and I would call driver development. I'll be like, yo, hey, student didn't come back, TikTok, he knew what time he had to be there and I had to go. I tried to call him, he didn't answer. Thankfully, never had that problem. All the students, they've always came back when they were supposed to. So yeah, it's just going to be based on if you think that student's telling you the truth or not. And I think I'm actually going to be getting off here pretty soon. My girlfriend is on her way home, and we're going to probably go out, spend a little bit of time before I have to go out. She had just messaged me over on Facebook Messenger. Now, let's talk about Facebook. I have I have a page called stephan.harz, YT, and then stephan.harz. Don't add me on stephan.harz, please. That's for friends and family. stephan.harz, YT is for all my YouTube stuff, okay? I just try to have a little bit of division there. So yeah, if you want to add me on Facebook, go to stephan.harz or stephan.harz YT, add me there. You can message me on there. You can ask questions. You can do whatever you need to. I much prefer that than having everybody adding me on my private Facebook page. I'm hoping I'm not coming off as rude on that, but I just try to have a division there from, friends that friends and family and YouTube. So yeah, that's that on that. I hope you guys understand that. So yeah, I think that's it. This is an hour long live. I didn't think it was going to be quite this long. I might try to do a monthly live video. If I do that, I might try to do it on the weekend. But if you guys have a particular date that you guys think would be good, put it down in the comments section. Also, if you're a Patreon supporter, that is another way that you can get a hold of me. And there is a Patreon level that if you pay for, you can get a phone call with me once a month. And I'm going to probably add a few other tiers in there. Don't want to be like overly pushing my Patreon, but hey guys, everything does help. And I have a lot of things I'd like to try to do for you guys. Excuse me. So, hey, Patreon is definitely a way to help me do that and bring you guys some awesome content. So, Patreon link is down below, or you just look me up by my name, stephan.harz, on Patreon, and either give $1 or more, whatever you feel comfortable with doing. But thank you guys for watching. Please comment, like, rate, and subscribe. And I will see you guys on future content. Hope everybody enjoyed the video. I hope the information here was well put. And that you guys have a fantastic day. In this winter weather, drive safe. Be safe. And yeah, there's that. Have a good day.